Hello and welcome to another episode of Eat, Smoke, Drink. So look, you've seen my intro to my new playlist. I'm not going to stop reviewing whiskies and taking you through rare whiskies. I'm not going to stop showing you cigar lounges and the odd special cigar that I find overseas. But what I'm going to start showing you are the different types of coffees wherever I go, whether that's in New Zealand. So I'm from New Zealand. And New Zealand, actually, which is funny, in my travels, for some reason, New Zealand has exceptionally good fucking coffee. I don't know why. Maybe it's the price point where they can get quality. Anyway, I don't know what it is. Some places to get a good coffee that isn't heavy roasted and burned, that tastes like oven scrapings, you need to spend, maybe $4 to $6 minimum, maybe $7 in some place like Korea, $7 to get a good coffee, US. And it's just like, what doesn't make sense? And when I say good coffee, I mean a good coffee, not your crappy Starbucks and all that stuff. And that stuff is horrendous and it's expensive and there's nothing special about it. But anyway, so you've seen my intro. I've started getting into coffee. Why? I drink coffee every day. I am an addict. My name is Eat, Smoke, Drink, and I am an addict. I love coffee in the morning, but I have a rule, because you have to have a code. Like Dexter, you have to have a code. When I wake up, I drink water. I don't have coffee for at least half an hour. I try to push it, but half an hour when I wake up to wake myself up naturally. And then I have my coffee. Coffee is usually a bit of a ceremonial thing for me. And this has made it more of a ceremony. I weigh my coffee like a drug dealer because it really is. I grind it, okay? I hand grind it. And then during my grinding, I can smell it emanating through and I'm sniffing that pipe, you know what I mean? Yeah, and then I decide that morning, do I want AeroPress or pour over? Those are the only two that I'm going to focus on because those are the only two I'm going to bring overseas with me, okay? Pour over and an AeroPress. And then in the afternoon, I'll do the same thing. And that's my two coffees for the day. And if I have a third coffee of the day, I turn into a gremlin or a werewolf or both. And my wife gets really shitty because I'm like hyped up on meth. And that is why I don't understand why people need to do cocaine or meth, because coffee does that for me already. So anyway, I want to discuss with you today the different processes of coffee, the different types of coffee. And I'm going to do a disclaimer now. This is not a video to lecture you on coffee. This is a video to take you through my journey of coffee and my learnings. And I would really, really love out there, because I know coffee is such a huge, diverse group, just like whiskey, just like cigars. Please, I want you to tell me if I've got something wrong in the comments, if I've got something right or learned something, please tell me. I really want to learn more about coffee. But so far, we have the main groups of coffee. We have Robusta, which is mainly from Asia. And we have Arabica, and most of the coffees you get in the Western world and around the world, that's espresso, pour over, or AeroPress or siphon or whatever the fuck it is, that is Arabica based or Arabica variant, Arabica derivatives. Robusta seems to be used a lot in Vietnam, Southeast Asia, because it's cheaper, it's faster to grow from what I've read. But also they use a lot on instant coffees. It suits heavier roasting as well. It's not really something that you can appreciate the very subtle note. It's mass produced. It's super mass produced, right? So they make it for instant coffees, and they extract the coffee out of it. And then you've got the Arabica, which has all sorts of different variants. Bourbon, standard Arabica. You've got single origin. You have machine harvested, hand harvested. That's what amazed me. I saw some documentaries and they literally pick coffee by hand in some of these places in Africa, South America, and Asia. They pick the ripest fruits and then they process them in different ways. So in my coffee journey so far, these are all single origin. And I focus on that because it is more interesting. It's only a few bucks more per per kilo. So I'm like, well, why would I not try that? But what I've noticed is that some coffee makers, the beans are all exactly the same size, perfectly. And some of them are very different. Some of them are small and big beans. And I find that those ones are the ones that are the most interesting. And as you know about my whiskey channel, I gravitate towards interest factor, challenge factor, something that will evolve over time. Once you open the bottle, the neck pour of the whiskey, it starts to change. Same thing here. Once it's roasted and I put it in a jar, someone's asked me, why do you put it in a jar? Because it looks so pretty. It looks so pretty. It's a ceremony. It's all about a ceremony for me. And I put it in a jar because I prefer to the plastic, but also it just, I don't know, I just like the feeling of shit in a jar, man. You know, not literal shit in a jar, but coffee, stuff in a jar. Well, maybe shit in a jar would be interesting. Maybe, yeah. But no, I don't have shit in the jar, not yet. I might start a channel on that later. But anyway, so you've got single origin, you have blends, you have hand-picked, hand-harvested, you have high altitude, low altitude. The roasting is different. So I gravitate towards light to medium roast, okay? So light, medium, or medium roast. There are a lot of the blends out there, a lot of the cheaper beans out there are very, very hard roast. So when people say, I want a strong coffee, they automatically think that strong coffee is like a strong, bitter, hard roast. But actually, from what I've gathered, is a medium to light roast has more caffeine than a heavy roast per gram because, it has more caffeine. Is that right? Correct me, fact check me, please, internet. But I'm not a huge fan of dark roasts because all you can taste is bitterness and burnt and it tastes like someone burnt some baby diaper and you're just drinking the tea out of that. It's just freaking horrendous. I like to actually taste the differences in the flavor of the beans and the cultivars and the terroir. You know, like wine, like champagne, you have the terroir. And so coffee will have the same thing because it is a naturally grown product. You will have a terroir. And I want to taste a terroir. I want to taste the style of that microplot. And that's another thing. Microplots and big farms, estates. I'm gravitating towards microplots and estates because then there is the style of the harvest and the processing and the growth of that particular microplot or state. But look, in saying that, I'm not actually fixated yet because I have literally, apart from these 5 in front of you, I've tried another 4, just 4 more. So that's how early I am in my journey. And I don't know I don't know what's what yet. I don't know what I don't know yet, okay? So it's a steep learning curve and I'm loving it and I'm really enjoying it. And just like whiskey, you get a buzz on as you're trying it. I guess this has less calories. The way I drink coffee is just black. I used to drink coffee with milk, frothed milk, Nespresso capsule, boom, and you put some milk. I have not missed milk since I've been doing this. I mean, holy shit, I have not put a drop of milk in any of these coffees. It's like I want to drink it pure, in its pure form. It's like I wanna kill that unicorn and suck the shit out of its blood. You know what I mean? Like nothing else, no dilution. I don't want to put sugar and milk in it and just completely ruin it. I guess I'm a purist in that manner. I don't put water or ice in my whiskeys as well. It's like buying a noodle soup and then adding some water or putting some ice in wine. God damn, why would you put ice in wine? Although some countries do that, it's kind of weird. But I just don't get it. So I don't put the milk on it. This is purest form, okay? So I'm gonna take you through processing. Types of beans, we'll continue types of beans first. And so you have Arabica, you have Robusta, and then from Arabica you have subsets of different, and then in my digging, you have civet coffee. So they literally have civets in a farm, and the civet is like a mongoosey cat type creature the civets eat the ripest berries only, the reddest berries, and then they collect their shit. They process that and turn it into coffee. I've actually had that before. I've had that before when I went to Vietnam. But I had actual Indonesian kopi luwak. But the interesting thing about it is that when you go to Vietnam, because civet coffee is so valuable, because civets can only eat so much coffee and shit so much coffee, I mean, I guess you could probably give it to humans. That'll solve world hunger. And just pretend it's civet. You get human shit coffee, but pretend it's civet. Anyway, so civet coffee is counterfeited in Vietnam, hugely counterfeited. And so everywhere you'll see weasel coffee. If you see weasel coffee, that ain't civet coffee. That's probably some other fucking creature that ate that coffee and shat it out. So don't buy it. Get genuine civet coffee if you want to try civet coffee. And then I saw elephant dung coffee. Wow. So they feed coffee beans to elephant. The elephant's big giant anus shits out big giant turds, and then they process that, and then they sell it in Thailand and other parts of the world, because apparently when coffee's gone through the shit pipes of an animal, it's more expensive. Wow, I love it. Capitalism. Who said capitalism is a flawed system? I mean, this is value creation right there. And then we have geisha coffee, which is the most expensive type of coffee that didn't come out of a shit pipe of an animal. Okay, it's grown on a tree, processed without pushing it through the shit pipe of an animal or a creature. So geisha coffee is very well known. It's relatively rare. It's an African origin, but now grown in South America. Panama is the biggest source of it now in terms of the prestige. Maybe the soil suits it better, and they just found the perfect recipe from nature, man, refinement. That's what you get. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm not going to try that for a while. Okay? I'm going to try lots of different coffees first and really go balls deep in coffee. Okay? And then I will try that. So yeah, so we have the different types of coffee. Geisha. It's actually geisha, but people say geisha, like a Japanese geisha. It's got nothing to do with Japan. It's got nothing to do with Japanese pseudo-prostitute things, harem women. It's got nothing to do with that. But it's called geisha, Gesha or something. But anyway, correct me if I'm wrong again. These are all documentaries and texts that I've read about coffee. So yeah, so those are different kind of coffee cultivars and coffee species. And then we have the processes. Now this is what I love. This is what I really love. So, processes. Oh man, this is where I geek out. This is the shit that I love, you know? When it comes to whiskey, when it comes to cigars, when it comes to food, I love the processes of what makes them unique. Sometimes you get the same thing processed differently and it tastes completely different. And I absolutely love that. And this is where my interest sparked when I started trying the coffees, because, you know, I had a choice. Would I just try normal coffee and just drink the coffee, or do I want to make every coffee cup every day an experience to be had, an evolving experience? And obviously that's who I am. As you can see with the whiskeys and stuff, I don't just want to drink something for the sake of it if I can help it. And it's not like the cost is hugely and vastly different with coffee. So I thought, no, I'll go on this Epicurean journey with this coffee. So yeah, so look, the first process, the most common process is washed. Okay, so washed coffee, it's the most common, the most efficient, the fastest. They literally take the coffee, depulp it and wash it, and that's it, and it's sent away for sale. And then you have natural, then you have honey. Honey's got nothing to do with honey. I don't know why it's called honey, but it's called honey. And then you have carbonic maceration. Then you have anaerobic fermentation. So you have to ferment the beans, and then you dry them, and then you peel the stuff off it, and then you get left with the bean, right? So that's every process has to start with a bean, with some sort of fermentation, and then it gets to the macerating and removal of the seed, which is the coffee bean that you've got. Okay, so that's the gist of it. Every coffee you've got has to go through that process, but in between is what changes. So you've got natural, where they leave the berry on and sun dry it for a while, and then they go on into ferment it, and then they peel it and they take the paper off and all of that bits and pieces, the pulp. And then you have washed, which is a very fast process, as I mentioned before. That's the most common, most efficient. So most coffee bean you've got will probably be washed, the normal coffee beans. Unless it specifies otherwise, it'll probably be washed, okay? Because it's the most efficient one. And it'll have a short fermentation as well, because they want to get it from tree to pluck to bean to roast to consumer. So you're going to have a lot of different... so you're going to have basically a very basic process there. And then what I started getting into a lot in this very short amount of time, straight away, is an anaerobic fermentation. So anaerobic fermentation. So for example, this one here is this is by a company called Rocket Coffee. This is a Colombian filter roast in the Rafael Amaya estate. This is 200-hour anaerobic washed. So what they did was they take the beans, they put it into these bags, or they put it into these giant containers, and they let them ferment with no oxygen. So they fill it with CO2, shut it, and then they let them ferment with no oxygen. So oxygen obviously is an oxidizer, and so with that oxygen, it turns it into something else, hence the anaerobic. And then you have an anaerobic of, this is another anaerobic wash, the Leonid Ramirez state, anaerobic washed, same anaerobic wash, but this is only 20 hours, this is 200 hours. I mean, absolutely amazing. And then you have wet hulled, where they basically leave the little pulpy bit around it longer, and then they take it off at a later stage. So you've got some intermediary steps, usually done in tropical countries. Look, what I've noticed looking at the processes of these is actually very fascinating. It changes the flavor of your coffee and the delivery of your coffee flavors, right? It changes the notes of the nose and the palate. But it's not, from what I gathered, it's not always the intention of the producer to do that. Sometimes I believe the producers and the processors of the coffee, they're doing it because of what suits their climate, what suits their geography. So with that comes the coincidence of what becomes of the coffee after. So I don't think that necessarily, correct me if I'm wrong, that a coffee micropot will go, you know what, let's experiment with a different process today to see what kind of different 100-ton coffee we can deliver this season. I don't think they do that. I don't think that is the goal. I think it is more, how do we preserve the coffee? How do we get maximum utility from a process, make it efficient, yet, make the coffee good? And then they innovate processes, like honey, for example, wet hulled, for example. From what I've gathered, they're relatively new in the scene. But once again, correct me if I'm wrong. Am I right? Am I wrong when it comes to that? Because I really like to know. And yeah, so look, you've got anaerobic fermentation, you've got normal fermentation, you have washed, natural, wet hulled, you have cat shit coffee, you have elephant shit coffee, you have human shit coffee. No, that's me going to start that. You have medium roast, light roast, dark roast. So this is what I love as well. So I love the light to medium and medium roast. I love that. That's my jam. I even like it more on the lighter side. But then heavy roast, why do you ask? Heavy roast is usually done with shit beans. When you've got beans that are mass produced, they're harvested regardless if they're green or red cherries, machine harvested in massive bulk, usually Brazil grown coffee, just harvested in bulk. They don't care if it's tiny little green berries or massive red plump berries, they just harvest them. The flavor's going to be shite. The flavor's going to be something about it that's not going to be right. So they hard roast them to hide those flavors. So that's what a hard roast is. And in time, just like you do wine, whiskey, people get used to the coffee that they're used to, right? So in Italy, they always have bold roasts. Well, when you go to Italy, and no offense Italians, I've been to Italy, and I tell you what, their coffee is shit, right? It's just super bitter espresso. They don't sit there and they don't savor the coffee. The coffee is not made for savoring in most cases. They go to an espresso bar, they ask for a coffee, they pay their €150 for an espresso shot, they shot it, they have a drink of water to wash out that grime from their mouth, and then they move on. It's a drug delivery system, right? But then when you're going out of your way to drink coffee from different states, like I am right now, like a lot of you will be, and if you're not, I encourage you to, because the cost is not that much more. It's just a little bit of effort, and man, it opens your eyes. The flavors of these are so different, and I will take you through every single one of these, okay? Every single one. So I've gone on a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I'm just so excited to take you through this journey of mine. It's just, I'm documenting my learning, okay? As I learn, this is not me coming to you as someone who has tried, like with whiskey, literally thousands of expressions, thousands, not this. My coffee experience are espresso pods, kaza, and all those different names that come up with it. That's my coffee experience. I've tried Kopi Luwak once, but that doesn't even count. So my coffee experience is very minimal. So you're joining me the start of my journey as I learn through drinking different types of beans, single origin, and states of coffees. That's basically it. And look, all my coffee reviews, all my coffee reviews, I'm going to put the roastery in the bottom so you know the details. And yeah, just for your interest's sake, right? And this is what it's about. I'm going to put that in the bottom there. But yeah, look, until next time, actually eat, smoke, drink. Don't forget to caffeinate yourself. And I will see you when I either have a whiskey or a coffee. All right, cheers. Oh, I forgot, it's coffee, beans. All right, oh God, that smell. Oh, God damn. Oh, I forgot. When I'm gonna do the coffee review, and I'm gonna take you through this as well as I do reviews on coffee, I will go through the impressions of the beans, okay? I'm gonna take you through the bean appearances, and then I'm going to take you through the nose of the bean itself. And then I'm going to take you through the nose and the palate of the coffee itself. And I will tell you whether that's an AeroPress or a pour over. So I'm going to take you through each format of each coffee that I do. And when I'm overseas, I will take you through interesting roasteries. And I'll do the same if I can find these beans overseas. And, obviously everyone will have a different style, different terroir, different microplots, whatever it may be. Anyway, until next time, make sure you eat, smoke, drink.